Hello folks, so what I have here today with me is not my regular blogs. This is more like a functional automation solution that I've come up with, and yes, this touches most of the technologies that I consult for, and what I would guarantee you is at the end of the session there will be certain takeaways for you from this session. So I would suggest that although this blog is going to be lengthy, but please watch this through and through. To introduce this blog, what I have here is we usually have stored procedures and ETLs which extract, transform, load data from one server to another, and developers do write that. So they also have to write certain amount of unit test cases which needs to be tested across if the data has been loaded appropriately with the right business logic involved. And if you're not writing it as of now, please start writing it, because the reason is BI forms the very important backbone of the business decisions. So basically, if your data is not loaded as per logic, your organization's business decisions will be altered and might not be correct, and they might be adversely impacted as well. So it impacts major business decisions. So what I have here is a tool which is engrossing all this test cases, and it is going to it's going to do is it's going to automate the test case from the developers, and also add certain amount of accountability to the developer, and also ease out the reporting of the test cases with the respect of several dimensions in terms of severity, date time, projects, environment. All those things will be reported directly to your manager without any intervention of any sort. So to basically jump onto the architecture quickly, what I have here is this is the architecture of what I have come up with. So basically what you can see from the left is there are several servers which may be transactional server. So what it needs to be done here is each of the server will be considered as the OLTP servers, which will be running the automated test cases and in the environment. Say for example, for project A, server 1 would be the SIT environment, or for server 2 for project A, and B might be the UAT environment. Similarly for server 3, so each of these will be considered as the OLTP environments, where each of the developer would simply have to enter one single record, mind you, just one single record in a table, and this job will take care of running the OLTP test cases on the scripts, basically on the data basically, and then those test cases will be recorded in the test audits table of the OLTP server. Now from there, what it does is there is a we can consider a consolidated server which I call data mart DM, which via SSIS pulls the data. So basically there is no pushing of the data. The SSIS will act as the stitching through and through mechanism for the entire process. So what it does is the SSIS pulls the data from the OLTP environment and pushes it, keeps it on the DM server, which I call the OLAP server. Now this server is again a OLAP server, which means there are dimensions and the fact tables, and it has been modeled accordingly. From there, on top of this dimension model, we build a cube. On dimension fact model, we build a cube, and from on the cube the reports are generated, and then an email is sent to your manager, or whatever recipients wish to actually get the emails. So what this is the SSIS package is going to pull the data from your OLTP environments, keep it on the DM, which none of the developers have access to, build the cube and render the report, and then after the report is rendered, it is going to send an email to each of to the respective managers with the test cases on sliced and diced on various dimensions and severity and stuff. So we'll see that how it is going to do that, but that's how it is going to be. So as a developer, you just have to prepare the script and you have to host it on your respective server in the environment. Now how we are doing it, we'll take a look at that. So getting on with the technologies that I have used in here is I have used data modeling, transactional and data mart. So basically I have modeled the database for the transactional and a data mart for both of these different styles of server. So SQL Server 2012 is used for hosting OLTP and OLAP databases respectively. Then the cube part has been taken care by the analysis services 2012. The reporting services takes care of the reports, and the integration server is the end-to-end stitch. So basically integration services is going to extract the data, load it, build the cube, process the cube, generate the reports, render the reports, and send out the email to the respective managers. So with that introduction, we jump on to what I have here in store. Let's take a look. So to begin with, I would like to go ahead on the what I have here is, if you see, I have four instances. I have four instances of databases of servers. So basically this SQL server, second and third instance, these three instances will be using as the OLTP instance, and SQL Server 2012 will be using as the data mart. So basically if you see here, there is a DM data mart database already created. Similarly in each of them I have environment 1, environment 2 and environment 3 database. So each of this database is going to act as the OLTP database, which is your testing database. So basically if I were to look at one of them for the data model, what I have here is I have tables which are four tables which are like we have a test case table which hosts the test cases. I have the environment, test audit and the project table. Now if I were to look at the data, what each of them hosts is, each of them hosts basically to begin with the smaller tables, what I have in environment table is having the environment ID and the environment description, that is it is UAT or SIT, whatever environment that you're testing on, and the projects that you're testing. So with the projects, say I have code names, two projects, Hammer and Shield, are the two projects hosted on this server, and they are going to be tested. So now moving on, the test case is the only table where the developer needs to do an entry. So what does he has to enter here is he'll have to enter the table, the column that he's testing. Say for example I have two tables here, department and the employee table, and I wish, I mean my ETL is running and populating the data on these two tables. So I wish to test the data that is coming in. So what I do here is I have a test description and the SQL. So if I were to paste this out here for you, the description says name column cannot be null. So what I say is the name column, I'm testing employee table name column, and I say name column cannot be null, and the SQL query for testing this out. So if I run this query, it's going to give me fail. So because if I take a look at the employee table, I find there is a name column and there is a record with the name as null. So basically this is the value that is returned. So that's your description, that is your test description, and there is a test SQL. Apart from that, what I have is active severity. I have segregated the severity in terms of 1, 2 and 3, 1 being high of the test case, 1 high, 2 medium and 3 low. So and then the environment ID. So environment ID is having the foreign key relationship with your environment, which is your where are you testing this. So for this test case we are testing this in SIT environment, and we have a project ID which is again a foreign key. So for this we have the projects that we are testing. So we are going to test two projects, Hammer and Shield, in the SIT environment. So that's your OLTP, and the what do I mean here, I mean how is this going to run is through a stored procedure. So if I were to open the stored procedure and show you, so this is the stored procedure that is going to pick all the active test cases, and this is going to dynamically run all the test cases and insert the data, once the results in the test audits table. So where this is my test audits table, so it's going to say test case ID, pass fail with the executed date and the executed person. So that's all the stored procedure does. Fairly simple. So again, this stored procedure will be triggered by ETL. So this simply needs to be hosted on your server, on each of the servers. That's all. So I close out the OLTP model. I hope that's very clear and simple. Now I move on. To likewise we have, to explain you, we have three such databases: environment 2 and environment 3, which is hosting the stored procedure and everything. So basically each of them host it. Now moving on to the major important part is the data mart. What is that hosting, and what is the data model for the data mart? So if I open out the data mart, what I see here is I have built a hypothetical data mart from the data that I have in the OLTP environment, and which I want to slice and dice according to my whims and fancies. So what I have here is a fact test table, the dim date table, which is dimension, dim severity, the table dimension, the column dimension, and the artifacts. Artifacts are basically having the project and the environment description, and the dim test. So dim test is having the test case ID, test description, test SQL, active, and the start and the end date. So effective start and the end date is being used here because I want to maintain the historical records for the test cases, which means tomorrow if you want to update your test case, for these test cases, if you want to update that test case, I should be able to map the historical records and also the current records. So basically if you switch your records T-SQL, I should be able to identify that what was changed there in the T-SQL. So basically currently I want to audit the test description, the test SQL, and the active records. So, which means if you change anything in any of these three columns, I would be able to audit that. So that is why I have these start and the end dates, which is used in the ETL for the slowly changing dimensions of type 2. Again, type 2 means the same. You can refer my SCD blog on the same. So that's the model as of now for the mart. Now I move on to the mart. Currently if you see, these tables in the mart are empty. All of them are empty that I have discussed so far. Now only the dim date is being populated. So dim date is again is the only populated. So how a dim date key is acting as the INT smart date key here, and we can slice and dice by the date, month, weekday, any of these things. So that's why and we have populated that. Again, this can be populated incrementally as well. I mean, the SSIS package is going to take care of any further dates which come in the future runs. So that is being taken care of. But initially we have populated that. Now apart from that, what other tables I have for running is two other tables I call SSIS configuration table. So here I just need to make an entry of the server. I mean, as if I am the one hosting the data mart, you just need to, and you are the developer, you just need to provide me the server name and the database name on which you on which you have installed or deployed your tables and the stored procedure. And I just need to make an entry on the server name and the database name, and that will be taken care of. I mean, my ETL will run across that. So that's about it from the mart perspective. Now let's jump into the stitching portion, which is the ETL. So I have the ETL here. I have everything. I mean, I have used the cube and the report. Everything has been developed here. Now let's move on and take a look at the ETL here. So what does ETL do? Okay, the ETL does everything. So basically ETL is going to run across, fetch the server details from the server configuration. Against, first of all, it's going to fetch the server configuration here, and then it is going to run against each of the server. First of all, it's going to run the SP. So this will be run against each of the server, and which means your test audits table will be populated. So basically, if you see here, your test audit table is going to be populated in each of the environment, which means your test cases are going to be run. Once that's run, it is going to get the date key, it's going to get the current date key, and then it's going to jump and try to pull data basically from each of the servers. It's again going to pull data and populate its dimensions and then load its fact. Now let's take a look at the dimensions. So if you look at dim date, as I had said, if the date is not existing there, this code is going to add a record into the table, into your dim dimension table, dim date. That's all. All the four of them can run parallelly. So these four executions are going to run parallelly. Now what each of them do here is, again, dim date I've showed you, going to the table. This is going to get the table data from the test case, and it's going to join it. This is your warehouse dimension table, and then it's going to merge, conditionally lookup, and that's left outer join for you, and then it's going to load the data into your dim table. Similarly, the dim column has also been populated. The only these are all from my blogs of incremental loading, and the only changes in dim are artifact. So what I have done is I have used data hashing here just to demonstrate the data hashing approach of incremental load. You can refer that in one of my blogs for incremental loading. Again, this is being populated from your transactional environment, and is going to populate the project and the environment description. This is going to use the dim artifacts, and then do the same merge and conditional split, and then insert the records into dim artifacts table. That's all. Now moving to the dim test. This is your slowly changing dimension. So basically here, if you see, if you are going to it's going to fetch the data from your test case, project and environment, and then it's going to use slowly changing dimension. So basically, if you see here, your test case ID that I'm going to populate is your test case ID would be your test case plus your project and your environment. So basically, in one of the servers you can have test case for one particular project of an environment. So basically, if the test case ID is 1 for a particular environment, if I were to show you here, let's say I select the test case. So basically I have a test case ID as 1 here. Similarly, if I go and jump into my environment 2, this is my environment 3. Okay, fine. Again, I have a test case ID as 1. But the only change is the environment and the project. They cannot be same here. So if you look at the environment and the project that is going to be tested, this is going to be tested for Yukon project, and it's going to be for environment test case. It is going to be for environment ID 1, which means project ID 1, environment 1, which means for SIT. And that's why. So these three form the business key for my slowly changing dimension here. So here the business key is the test case ID, which is the combination of all the three. Then apart from that, I'm going to use the logic for slowly changing dimension for these three columns. If you see, I am going to track the historical change for active test description and test SQL. So if you change it, if a developer changes the SQL, if the developer changes, if it deactivates a particular test case or the description, I am going to be notified, or my mart is going to record that. So that's about it. So that's the dim test dimension for you. Finally, once this is done, I go ahead and load the fact load. So if you see here, fact load is again going to look up each of the dimensions. So it's going to take the data. How this is going to be loaded is it's going to take the data for every day's record. So this is your environment. If I say this is environment 1, fine. So this is going to pick up this ETL would be considering this ETL runs once a day. So this is going to run for each of the test cases which are recorded in the test audit table. If there is test case recorded in the test audit table, no matter how many times you run those test cases, for each of the test case it is going to pick the most latest results for that particular day. So what I have here is I have a partition on the test case ID ordered by the executed date descending, which means the most latest record and the results is going to be recorded, and based upon that it is going to pick up and build the fact. So that's what it's doing, and it's in the process is going to do a lookup with the date key. It's again a lookup with the date key, with the test dimension with each of the dimensions, with the table dimension, with the artifact dimension again, so and severity dimension. So it's going to populate the severity key, the column dimension for the column key, and then it's going to finally load everything into your fact table. So that's your fact. So that's your fact loaded. Once this is loaded, what it is going to do is it's going to update the current date for the ETL delta. Now what does this ETL delta do is, each time your fact is running, we have to record the say this is your ETL delta table. So for fact table I need to record the incremental load. So basically the current value is of say a particular defined value. Anything greater than this, it is going to load the data from the, and once it is loaded, it is going to update your value. So that update is going to happen here. It's going to update with the current date stamp. That means your current dates run is complete. So when you run for the next day, it is going to pick up anything greater than the ETL delta. So that's all it's going to do. Now once this is done, the next important part is the cube. So I would jump into the cube magnifier. So I have built the cube for each of the dimensions, considering date, artifacts, test severity, table, columns, all of them. And then I have the cube here with each of the dimensions. So I can use each of the dimensions to slice in and get the values. Now going at this, it's going to first process the dimensions, that is artifacts, date, table, severity, column. Once all of these are done, it's going to process the test dimension, and eventually when all the dimensions are processed, it's going to process your cube. Once this is done, once your cube is processed, then comes the report generation. So I have used reporting services here. I have prepared 3 sample reports for my magnifier project. Now I would simply show each of them. So currently what it's going to do is, it is first of all, for the past test cases, it's going to show the report from the table wise and the column. So basically table, column and environment, it's going to show the report of the test cases, past test cases count. The next is the failed test cases audit report with terms of severity. So basically if you see for the date, we are getting severity, we are getting the month, we are getting the project name and the environment on which the test cases have failed. So the next and the important one is the severity report. So it's in each of the if you see here project environment, so for each of the project, what is the environment and what is the count of the test cases of the severity of the pass and the fail, and it's going to report on severity basis for high, low, medium, everything. So that's the report. 3 sample reports, fairly simple, nothing complex. That's done. So what this does is it's going to download. First of all, it's going to trigger the report, render the report, download it, and then email that. So I'm using my Microsoft Hotmail account. So it is going to send an email and with the reports attached. So I have tested it twice here. So basically, if you see here, the reports would be you would receive an email with the reports here. So that's the end of I mean, this would be the report sent out to your manager. So that's the end of the ETL processing. So basically, if you see, the ETL stitches each and every aspect from the loading, from your data load to every part. So basically, it loads the data from the OLTP environments into your data mart. First of all, it runs each of the test cases on each of the environments, and then it's going to load it. Finally, it's going to build your cube, process them, it's going to render the report, and it's going to email your manager. So that's the report that's sent out. Now enough of lecture, let's start and run this and see how it goes. So to trigger this, what I have done is I have made it very simpler. I have made a SQL job out of it, which can be scheduled, and this job resides on your data mart. So this job is triggering your SSIS package. So this is the job. It's going to trigger your SSIS package, and it's going to run. So now if we look at, let's take a look. We have the date, rest of the tables are empty. We have the fact, the value for the ETL delta is 1800, which is the erstwhile value. So it should now, currently, let's try what we have in the configuration table. Let's take a look. We have for only environment 1, that's all. So I run the job. So it's going to load the data, run the test cases, load the data. Let me pause this. So it has run. First of all, let's take a look at the tables, each of the tables. If we have the data, so we get the data from environment 1. We have the projects from environment 1, the test cases. Those were the 11 test cases out there, the 11 records for the fact, and then the ETL delta value updated. So let me revert the ETL delta, because we'll be running this for another 2 runs. I mean the environment 2 and 3. Meantime, we should have, okay, there we go. So dear manager, please find attached the latest EOD testing status. Thanks, your beloved software development engineer. Yo. So we have the mail, we have the reports, okay, and what I do is, next I am going to run for my next 2 servers as well. So what I have in my configuration is, I have 2 other servers also which I need to test and build my mart upon. Now let's trigger it. So that's my report as of the first report for test case count. For department table, department column and DID column, I have 4 passed test cases, 2 passed and 2 passed for employee name. Next I have is failed test case count. Okay, I think our job is complete. Yes, it is. Yep. So let's continue. So severity report, I have high severity for hammer and shield SIT environment, uh, high, low and medium, failed and passed aggregation counts. So cool. Now let's go back and let's take a look at each of the tables. Okay, I get hammer, shield, Yukon, I get records again, and let's take a look at our fact ETL delta. Yes, that's been updated. Let's go ahead and take a look at our mail sent. We should be getting the additional report for all the three environments this time. Right. So now you see there are 16 test cases, uh, and the test case count for each of them. Next, what you see is the failed test case severity report. Also, we see the UAT status for hammer and shield. We have SIT UAT each for the project environment, and the test case count of the high, medium and low severity, failed and passed aggregations, all of them. So this is going to give you the information about the test case automation and the test case. So what you see here is each of the test cases have run. Each of the test cases uh, data has been accumulated and then it's been displayed. So basically this is what I call magnifier. It magnifies the errors, it magnifies and shows your development quality. So I hope this session brings out a demo of all the Microsoft MSBI database and MSBI to you. I mean, it gives you some insight upon it. So that would be the takeaway. If I were to go back to my PowerPoint, the takeaway would be, first of all, of course, the solution, and the secondly an end-to-end demo on each of the MSBI and SQL Server database, OLAP and OLTP environments, how they are built and how data is captured through the help of ETL, and the reports are rendered. So until next time, thank you and mercy. Bye bye.